Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. In today's quick little video, I'm going to be running you guys through my strategy for clearing the brand new 4.1 Abyss 12 with a very free-to-play friendly team, and then after that I'm going to be showing you guys a couple of speedruns which are just absolutely ridiculous. So first, let's take a look at the character builds that I'm going to be using for the top half of Abyss 12. This is the first team, which is kind of a reverse melt slash just pyro damage focused team, with Xiangling and Rosaria being the two main DPS characters for this team. You can see that her crit ratios are okay with some energy recharge. We have the Dragon's Bane on her, so for some elemental mastery. And for her 4-piece artifact sets, it's just the 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fates. And yeah, that's pretty much a very standard reverse melt Rosaria build. We have Bennett, it's just the standard Sapwood Blade, Noblesse Oblige Bennett. And finally we have Sucrose. I guess I probably could have used, the Thrilling Tales on her, but I guess I had the Sacrificial Fragments, which is fine. For her, I did have a bit more energy recharge than usual. Instead of going for the Elemental Mastery share, I figured, hey, let's just get her burst up a bit more frequently, and there we go. Up next, we have Xiangling. She has the standard catch build, and since I'm using so many Emblem of Severed Fates in this run, this one is kind of like the hand-me-down out of all of them. She's even using an attack percent timepiece, which is okay. You know, we could see that this team is going to do just fine. And for the second team, it is a very kooky cutter Hyperbloom team with Dendro Traveler with the Favonius Sword with just crit rate and energy recharge focus pieces, and she is of course just whatever. And we have Kugi Shinobu, who is a pure elemental mastery build with 1004 and the Tokabu Shigiri, along with the 4-piece Flower of Paradise Lost. Now Yao Yao is actually pretty nice to have on this team, and she has the 4-piece instructors along with Favonius. Even though her crit rate is absolutely terrible, I figured, well, there's not really any other valuable weapons that she can use besides Favonius. So yeah, it doesn't really make a big difference. This team does not have energy issues. Xingqiu, who has the Sacrificial Sword along with another 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate set with 53 crit rate, 153. But obviously this team is here for Hyperblooms and not much else. Alright, so I'm just going to be commentating as we watch these runs. For 12.1.1 we have the Millennial Pearl Seahorse, and this thing is interesting, and it's also why I brought this team. We can actually look at his shield gauge here from the Genshin Wiki, and we can see that Pyro, Cryo, and Dendro are the best ways to break this shield. So in this team we obviously have basically 4 sources of Cryo, Pyro, and Pyro, actually, yeah, because we have infused Sucrose's Elemental Burst, and we can see we just busted through that shield pretty darn quick. And even though that, you know, this team has run out of juice and stuff with all their Elemental Bursts down and whatever, it's still doing a pretty solid amount of damage, all things considered, after we finally got our second round of bursts. Now, it does go into a mode sometimes where it hops into the air and drops 3 of its pearls, but you just break them and then it has no shield. So yeah, Cryo, Pyro, and Dendro are going to do really well at breaking that thing's shield. Now for this one, we have a ton of wolves, and it gets a little crazy pretty quickly. However, it's still quite manageable for a Hyperbloom team, especially with double healer as well as Xingqiu, because these wolves actually have pretty low knockback on their attacks. Instead, they mainly apply corrosion. So having a lot of healing as well as a little bit of interrupt resistance, and you can literally just Unga Boonga everything to death as they all hop into Xingqiu's little water swords. They apply Hydro to themselves, and then obviously you just create a ton of blooms and create a ton of hyper blooms for Kuki to absolutely abuse. And we can see here that it's just going on, and you know, I'm literally just Unga Boonging. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. All I'm doing is focusing on getting the character's bursts up, along with having plenty of healing in order to offset the tons of corrosion that admittedly our team does take because of this. And that's actually why I chose Yao Yao as the secondary Dendro applicator for this team. It's because now I'm able to just turn my brain off, left click a bunch. So now we have 3 Pyroabyss mages after a bunch of wolves, and running into a corner really helps because they will all teleport towards you, hopefully, and this will allow you to use Xingqiu's, water swords, obviously, in order to bust their fireballs pretty quickly. Obviously, Xingqiu is one of the best Hydro applicators in the game, so we can see that 2 of them are already down, and we're going to have the 3rd one down soon enough. And I'm taking this opportunity to battery up the team as well. And one great thing about this team is that you really don't have many energy issues as well. You can see a pretty easy clap in that with plenty of time left on the clock. So up next is 12-2. And 12-2, after we start this run, we can see, I barely even remember this run, but we have just these 2 Abysmal Vishap guys. I think you want to avoid their projectiles because they might drain energy. It might be the bigger ones that drain energy. I don't fully remember if the small ones drain energy too. But we've dealt with these things before. Just, you know, get them in your circle. I know we're spreading them out a little bit, but it's really not a big deal. They kind of come grouped towards you and group themselves conveniently, and we can see here that it's pretty effortless for us to take care of. Now, for the second wave, generally speaking, the big giant arm robot will come towards you, and then the gunner robot will pretty much just, you know, stay where it is. So I tend to try to stick near the gunner robot, but we can see that I guess it's pretty easy to knock him back as we've knocked him out of Rosaria's field. Now, this team does have some energy issues, so I think I could have built them a little bit better to have better burst uptime, but even with these, you know, major inefficiencies in this team, it's not really having an issue. And we can see here that I can finish them off with Rosaria's burst and stuff, but instead I chose not to. So I'm going to speed through this a little bit because all I'm doing is battering them out and gently whittling them down. We now have these 2 robots. Now these 2 robots are actually quite dangerous, but unlike the previous one and the previous Abyss 12, these ones don't apply a cryo shield all the time. Instead, they just have some pretty dangerous ranged attacks. We can see the male robot, or you know, the guy robot over in the distance is shooting those giant, I think those are cryo attacks, and they do a lot of damage. However, just do the standard Hyper Bloom stuff. Because we have double healer as well as Xingqiu's water swords, we can literally just face tank all of it, and we're not having any difficulty at all. Hyper Bloom is obviously a great single target DPS option, and we can see it is just absolutely shredding this boss with no issues whatsoever. And we're not having any energy issues as well for this team. Now, I think I missed Xingqiu's little thing there, so unfortunately Xingqiu doesn't have his burst for 12-3, but not a big deal. This is literally my first attempt and first try through these abysses. That's how fairly effortless it is with the right team. So 12-3-1, we have the Mirror Maiden at the beginning, and I definitely don't think that I did an optimal rotation here, but my goal here was, in case she teleports, she's still within the circles, but in this case she didn't teleport immediately, so we have a bit of a delayed teleport, I believe. I think she teleports. But either way, you guys know the Mirror Maiden. She'll teleport backwards a little bit, and now we're just going to play Circle Impact here. And I think we're able to finish her off with just a little bit of chip damage. Now, for these 2 Fatui wind operatives, I try to push them towards each other, but they are also quite dangerous. They do a lot of damage. And I actually did have to retry this once or twice. I think twice because I did end up losing a character because they do a lot of damage. So just be careful. Make sure you're either being healed copiously with something like Bennett's Field, or you actually try to dodge their attacks. But eventually, slowly but surely, they will group up. And when they do their teleport thing, they will just clump right on top of each other. And this will allow you to apply some good AoE. We can see that they do some pretty scary AoE attacks like that as well. I have no idea if I'm successfully iframing them. I don't have the timings down for these enemies yet. And they're quite fresh and new, so yeah. And next we have 12-3-2. We fight this giant spinning top robot. It's gravity themed and it's actually pretty cool and pretty fun. Once it does this gravity thing, you can jump really high, which is pretty goofy. And it is worth noting that you can do 3 Pneuma aligned attacks while it's in this state in order to knock it out of its giant gravity field thing. When its gravity field is up, it will have additional resistances. But in this case, I mean, you know, we're running Hyper Bloom. That means we have the Deepwood memory, so we're shredding its resistances by a substantial amount, and therefore we're able to honestly not really care, and we just focus on doing our Hyper Bloom rotation along with double healer, along with Xingqiu's water sword resistances, and it's going to be a piece of cake. As we can see, we have more than enough time on the clock in order to clear this Abyss 12. So I think, yeah, we have another pretty easy Abyss 12 on our hands, just like the last one, and perhaps as we get further into Fontaine's meta, it's going to get a bit more difficult, but for now, it is pretty simple. So up next, I wanted to show you guys a couple speed runs. Now, I decided to do a couple really quick speed runs, both with Neuvillette, because this character is absolutely goated and he is so simple and easy to use. Unfortunately, I don't have Constellation 2 Baizu, which does reduce his rotation times, but oh well, not a big deal. I just decided to substitute Baizu with Zhongli here in order for a more resistance threat. And we can see, even though it has its shield up, which reduces a ton of damage, I didn't even care here. I'm just like, whatever, we're just going to gun it down. And we can see that Constellation 6 Refinement 5 Neuvillette just absolutely annihilated our Seahorse friend. And it's not going to be much different here. I think I didn't have energy, so I haven't figured out this team's energy management yet. So I decided to implement the spin to win strategy because the two Vishaps were spread out. And we just keep spinning. I think there's two robots after it, and it just, spin to win is just absolutely ridiculous because you don't even need to group the enemies, as we can see. So finally for 12-3-1, we're just doing a standard Neuvillette opener. This rotation looks terrible. I'm pretty sure I can cut off a lot of time. Even though the Mirror Maiden resists Hydro, who cares, right? It's Neuvillette, and now I'm just spinning to winning against the two spread out wind operatives, and they are dead just like that. And because of how simple and easy it is to do speedruns in Neuvillette, I also decided to do the second half, and each of these speedruns took literally like 8 to 15 minutes. Which was just, you know, no time at all when it comes to speed runs. Against these wolves, just implement the spin to win strategy. Oh my god, I mean, this is just, you know, Neuvillette is a much more powerful spinning top than that top boss was. And there was even waves of the Pyro Abyss mages, but Neuvillette obviously just annihilated them, even though they're spread out. The spin to win strategy is just too powerful. So here, a boss fight, you don't even have to do anything. You just press and hold left click once, and now look. It's just getting obliterated. It's completely getting obliterated. No rotations, nothing. Just press and hold left click. I've never had... This is the easiest speed running in the world. I can't believe... Honestly, this character is kind of power crept. Many other characters. So I wasn't sure if I got the Hydro Swirl on the thing, so I decided I'm just going to be safe. Who cares if I added an extra second or two? This isn't really meant to be optimized. This is just showing you guys the absolute absurdity when it comes to Neuvillette speedruns. Yeah, I think this Abyss 12 is pretty straightforward. You guys saw a very cookie cutter, Cookie Shinobu Hyperbloom team just absolutely annihilate the second half of Abyss 12, along with some pretty easy strategies in the top half. And Pyro, as well as Cryo and Dendro, will absolutely tear through the Millennial Pearl Seahorse's shield, as well as you can destroy the 3 pearls that it drops on the ground very easily with any of those reactions as well. So yeah, overall it's a pretty easy Abyss 12 in my opinion. And let me know down below in the comments what you ended up clearing this Abyss 12 with. Feel free to add any tips that you guys have down in the comments below. And also, let me know what you guys think about Neuvillette as a speedrunning character. He is absolutely ridiculous, and honestly, I think he's kind of power crept a lot of characters when it comes to speedrunning in Genshin Impact. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Want to Lose, signing out.